Hey there. Happy Wednesday. Like I've talked about in many of my other videos, having good lighting is a really big part of giving your projects a high quality look. Unfortunately though, as I'm sure you know, lights and lighting equipment are really expensive. And most people aren't able to buy a full-fledged lighting kit like right out of the gate when they're getting started. So today we're gonna chat about if I had to start my lighting kit over again, what are the first two lights that I'm gonna buy that will cover me in about 95% of the situations I'm faced with. For me personally, most of the projects that I'm getting are small commercials, documentaries, corporate videos, and the occasional music video. And so for all of those, if I only have two lights and I can only choose two lights, I think what I would probably go with is some sort of flexible light mat and some sort of tube light. And the reason I would choose these two lights over any other combination of fixtures is for a few reasons. One, they're relatively inexpensive to buy compared to all the other lighting fixtures that are out there. Another reason is their size. They are small, they're easily portable, but they're still big enough to give you a soft source. That leads me into my next reason is they are soft, so it allows you to give nice, beautiful key lights for your talent, and they're really just super versatile, which is, you know, when you're only having two lights is what you really are looking for. Now let's kind of look at how I would use just these two fixtures alone to light different types of scenes. So starting out with our first example here, this is a music video that I got from my buddy Danny a couple months back, and pretty much for the entire project, all we really used to light this was tube lights and light mats. For this scene specifically, we used legitimately just one tube light and had it just kind of up above that bathroom mirror, boomed out on a C-stand arm with a little bit of black wrap on the side of it to cut off some of the spill from hitting that bathroom door there to really keep our focus and our attention on the main talent. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool that you don't necessarily need a super powerful source to light an entire room. Obviously, you know, it's scene depending and project depending, but you can get away with sometimes just using a singular tube light to light a whole room. Our next example here is from my sneaker spec that I shot a couple months ago, and this is kind of how I most often use the two light mat tube light combo. The way to kind of maximize getting the most out of these two lights is by making sure that locations you're shooting in already have a built-up level of ambience in it naturally. So like the studio space had like a decent amount of light just from the weird little buttons and lights that were in the space, and so that allowed us to not have to build up that ambience ourselves with overhead rigs or bouncing lights into the ceiling. And when you have smaller fixtures, you're not gonna be able to do that and light your talent. And so because we already had that built up ambience, we were able to just use our two lights as, you know, a little key light for his face and then an accent light just for that background there to make that pop a little bit more. And it also doubled as a hair light because of the way the angle was. It was able to hit both his hair and the background. So that's really the best way to get the most out of these two fixtures, is by choosing your locations properly and thinking about the fact that, okay, I need my space to already be decently well lit, and then I'm just gonna bring in my fixtures and kind of chisel out a little more dimension and add a little bit more polish to the scene. Finally here, I'm gonna kind of demonstrate how I would go about using these in a documentary or corporate style setting. So I'm gonna do a little scene here in my house of kind of interview, B-roll-esque kind of thing, and I'll show you how I use these lights to do that. And I think that's honestly probably where, if you're first starting out, a lot of the scenes that you're gonna be lighting are these kind of corporate, documentary, kind of interview, B-roll kind of days, and these two lights work great for that. So let's jump on over and do that real quick.
Honestly, I don't find much joy in the act of cooking itself, but seeing how happy people are when they eat the food that I make makes doing the dishes 100% worth it.
All right, so getting started here, we are in my living room because this is what I have access to. Kind of the first thing that I'm gonna do when I walk into the space is, you know, how is the natural ambience? Where is it coming from? For here, it's coming from these windows over here, and then that light that we have kind of up in the ceiling there. In a lot of chances, I would turn off the kind of ceiling light, but because, again, we don't have a ton of lights, we're gonna leave that on and try to work it into our lighting plan here. So for our key light, we're gonna use one of our two lights, which is the light mat over here. This light mat specifically is the Falconized light mat. It's a little bit cheaper than the light mat that I use quite often, which is my Nanlite Pavo Slim, and it's a little bit bigger, so that's kind of why I'm using it today. I would suggest, if you're gonna pick one up that's kind of a budget option, this is a great one. It's like, I wanna say maybe 400 bucks, which I know is still expensive, but it's much cheaper than all the other options. So this is a good option to have. It's bicolor, 2x2, pretty soft, good source. So that's what we're using as the key light here. And then with our composition, as you can see, I have her nearsighted. And what that does is it allows us to get that light even closer to a talent, making it feel like a bigger source, making it softer. So those are just kind of one of those things that you kind of have to do to kind of hack or make these smaller fixtures feel bigger and kind of light more of the space. So that's pretty much the only light we're gonna use for this interview here. So moving into the B-roll, for any sort of doc or corporate project where I'm getting B-roll, mostly it's very run and gun, you don't have time to do big lighting setups, which is when the tube comes in handy. And for this, basically, I'm gonna have someone from Genie or a PA kind of just run around with me whenever we're shooting and use this tube light to just kind of wrap around whatever the natural light is giving us and just kind of, like I was talking about, etch out that dimension. So for example, if we look here at this pan, maybe someone's kind of standing over here with their hands and we want to wrap this light around more. Just kind of turn it on, have them hold it right here, and just let that light kind of, naturally it's hitting the side of my hand here, and then this is going to kind of help it wrap over the top and give us a nice soft key light and feel like it was purposely lit rather than just kind of, oh, there's a window there and it's just the window light hitting them. So it just kind of pretties up and polishes kind of what is already naturally there. And so that's kind of what we're going to do for this whole scene. For the versatility and generally low cost of these lights compared to other fixtures, I'd argue you couldn't have a better pair of lights to start out with. While bigger monolights like the 1200D and 600C have more output and can be hard or soft, you need to then buy extra modifiers to be able to do that. And already the lights themselves are far more expensive than both a tube light and a light mat combined are. I'd also argue that the less you can kind of overall change the lighting of a space when you're first starting out is gonna probably give you more natural feeling results. Because I know the first couple times that I had access to 1200Ds or bigger lights, the way that I lit the space, it didn't feel natural. And so sometimes having less is more when you're first starting out and really learning what smaller fixtures are able to do to a scene, and then kind of working your way up to using those larger fixtures and being able to make them feel natural. Plus, it's a really good skill to have to be able to just walk into a space, see what the natural light is giving you, and then only using a couple fixtures, be able to really polish up a scene and make it feel like you did light that entire space. So, tube light, light mat, those would be my suggestions for the first two lights that you should buy. I think they are a great addition to a new filmmaker's kit or someone who already has been doing this for a while and doesn't have these things. They are just amazing lights. I use them on almost every shoot that I do in some capacity, and they're just great. Can't really say much else than that. I'd love to hear your opinions though. Like, what did I miss? What lights would you suggest for someone kind of first dipping their toe into getting some lighting fixtures? Hopefully you found this video somewhat helpful. If not, as always, my apologies, and I'll see you next week. Bye.